experience of your probation time?
Physical toughness is nothing great, but you need to be mentally very tough. Take out your ranks, you start from zero. Just because you are highly patriotic, just because you show some extra josh, doesn't mean army will take you. You are technically super qualified on the equipment, weapon system, navigation, tactics, everything. And fourth is you are a paratrooper who can jump out of the plane or a helicopter. That's an added qualification. When you are eating a chicken raw or you are eating fish, all those things. At that state of mind, you will eat a human being also.
We are joined today by Captain Vineet Koka. Interestingly, Koka and I did our training together at Officers Training Academy in 2001. So I wouldn't take much of your time. And here is Koka, who's a paratrooper. He's an avid bike rider. And to an extent that the entire course is jealous of the number of bikes and the kind of bikes he has. And he believes in live life king size. When I say this, he's a man of varied interests and a man of taste. So what exactly I'm looking at, why we thought that Koka is the best person here, because somewhere we all want to idolize someone and want to be like someone, while the inspiration and motivation is always inside virtue, but we do need certain people around us and try and be, we relate to them. There are certain instances of life wherein we feel that, of course, I'm also like this, and if he can, why can't I? So here we have Vineet with us. So thank you so much, Vineet, first of all, for accepting our request. Welcome here.
Hey, good evening, Dharamveer. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the kind words. I am very excited to be in one of your talk shows here. Excited to meet everyone. And I've been following you from academy days when we were almost like teenagers or very young guys. You always had that extra kind of extra kind of smartness and extra kind of spirit in you, which actually motivates others. So I'm so happy seeing you do what you're doing now. And it's very inspiring for me personally, because not many of us are able to, take out time from our busy schedules and give back to an organization the way you are doing. So hats off to you that, you're really giving back to the organization, which actually brought us to this stage of life. So very excited to be here with all of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vineet. I think your kind words would definitely encourage the entire team to do well and excel in the field that we are in. So Vineet, before we start, I also want to tell everyone that Vineet is not here right now. Vineet is in Bangkok. So he's shifted right after the academy days, not right after the tenure in the army, but maybe a couple of years he was here in India. Rest, of course, Vineet will tell us and take us through his journey. So let's begin, Vineet, now that we have your introduction, now that we know everything. Just tell us briefly about your background, where you come from, and your family, school. Just take us through that journey briefly.
So for me, I've been very lucky. If you ask me what's my background, I'll say that I'm a true Indian. Reason being, my father and mother both were retired colonels from the army. My mother was a doctor. My father was an engineer in the Indian Army. So very proud to say that even my mother retired as a full colonel. So especially for all the lady aspirants of army who have a lot of question marks on how good army is as a career, I would say it's a fantastic career, because I've seen my own mother do very well in the army. So my background was that I've been everywhere and anywhere in India. So I was born in Shimla in a military hospital, and then moved to Jabalpur. From there came to Hyderabad, moved back to Jalandhar up north, then came down to Bangalore, and from there I went to Darjeeling, and then came back to Belgaum, and from Belgaum finally I joined the army. So I've been moving with my parents wherever they have been moving, from peace to field locations. And finally, at a very young age, I coincidentally joined the army at 19 and a half years. I was 19 and a half years old that time. So overall, if you see, I'm from a place known as, Telangana. Now it's known as Telangana. Earlier it was Andhra Pradesh. And my parents are still settled in Hyderabad. So by place, I'm a South Indian from the south of India, but of course, my language, my fluency in Hindi, and of course, my communication across various places where I've stayed in India doesn't make me a South Indian. So I'm actually a true Indian. That's what I feel.
Brilliant. I think that's a very, very encouraging thing and acceptance that one can have. I had a very different question for you, which was what motivated you to be in the army. I will look at this question two ways. One is, of course, since you've seen so much of army in your house, that of course it would have always motivated you, inspired you to be in the defense forces. But now let's look at it from another perspective. I've also seen a lot of army brat. Since they have seen so much of army, they probably, it's like I'm a son of an engineer and I don't want to be an engineer, right?
Right.
So that angle also sometimes play up.
Right.
So now that we have both the angles, I would want to know that what exactly inspired you to be in the defense force.
So actually, mine was a very different story. See, half of my family or most of my family stays in the US, right? So typical South Indian family where everybody is an engineer. If they're not an engineer, the second option is they're an MBBS doctor or an MD. So in my family, there were only two professions: either you be an engineer or you be a doctor. So when I was in school, mostly, I was pushed more by my parents that you need to, do something in the civil street, like either become an engineer, become a doctor, do an MBA, and maybe, make a career outside of army. So that was their desire, because of a simple reason. They knew that army is not an easy life. A lot of people from the outside who are defense aspirants think that army is a very easy life to live. It's got a lot of facilities and perks, but the people who have served there know that it's a very disciplined life, and everywhere there is a check and a balance in order to really do well in army as a career. So that's where I was pushed a lot to do something outside. But in my graduation days, my mother was commanding officer at MH Belgaum, and that's where the hub of infantry is, right? So you have a lot of infantry wing there. The commando course happens there, and there I had a lot of face time with a lot of young army officers. And that time, in 1998, you remember there was a Kargil war, where there was a big, there was a big troop movement going up north, and that was the time when I cleared my 12th, and I really got inspired by all that. So whenever I used to meet a young officer, I used to ask stories about what happened in Kargil. They used to come for their commando course. I used to ask which are the battalions and infantry. And there were a lot of instructors from the parachute regiment. So that's where something came in me that, this is what I want to do. It's like I have two choices, whether I want to have a very fancy career somewhere abroad, doing an MBA, or working in a big IT company, which everybody in my family does, or I want to really follow the footsteps where I want to be in the army. And then I definitely wanted to join the infantry and the parachute regiment. So it was at a very young age. In my first or second year of my graduation, I was completely spellbound that this is what I want to do, and I started preparing for it. Yeah.
Awesome. So जैसा कि अभी ट्रू इंडियन का जो एग्जाम्पल हमें कोका ने दिया, और जैसा कि he also told us that why is his Hindi so good is because he's probably moved along with his parents through the country. So कोका बहुत सारे एस्पिरेंट्स आपको आज अभी देख रहे हैं, और जो ये बच्चे हैं, जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, ये कहीं ना कहीं हम लोगों में वो छोटी छोटी चीजें ढूंढते हैं जिससे इनको अपने लाइफ में आने वाले जो चैलेंजेस हैं उनको ये ओवरकम कर सकें.
Right.
और हम लोगों ने भी किसी को देखा होगा, जैसा कि अभी आपने भी बताया कि when you were in Belgaum you would see young instructors and somewhere that, fascinates us and pulls us towards that glory, that decorum, and everything that we get to see anywhere. So when you started preparing, right, आपको कहीं पे कोई शक शंका इस चीज को पार करने के लिए हम लोग कई बार ओवर डिलिबरेट करते हैं, क्या ये डर कभी आया कि अगर कहीं नहीं हुआ, मेरा नहीं होगा या ऐसा कुछ होगा? सो व्हाट वाज योर स्ट्रेटजी व्हेन यू काइंड ऑफ स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर आर्मी एंड particularly SSB aspects, because that is something जो हम कहीं किताबों में नहीं पढ़ते हैं, हमें कोई सिलेबस नहीं पढ़ाया जाता है, उसके बहुत से ऐसे एस्पेक्ट होते हैं जो शायद हम कहते हैं कि you are born with it and it is not something that you kind of learn. So how was your journey of preparation, both written and actually SSB preparation, because that's something, the aspects that you kept in mind while you were preparing when you went for the SSB. और एक इसमें और मैं सवाल जोड़ दूं कि कौन से अटेम्प्ट में आपका एसएसबी क्लियर हुआ था? सो
इंटरेस्टिंग। तो ये तो बहुत लंबा क्वेश्चन है, तो इसको मैं पार्ट्स में आंसर करूंगा।
बिल्कुल।
तो पहले मैं स्टार्ट करता हूँ कि जब मैंने सोचा था कि मैं आर्मी ज्वाइन करूंगा, आई वाज टू बी वेरी फ्रैंक, मैं बहुत अंडर कॉन्फिडेंट था। रीजन बीइंग, इन माय स्कूल डेज, इन माय ग्रेजुएशन डेज, I was bit, I would say I was bit bullied by my fellow batchmates, by seniors, because of simple reasons. I was a very laid back kind of a person, always very chilled, typical those backbenchers नहीं होते college में, मैं वैसा था. So a lot of, and second was even physically, right? If you see most of, because I was born and brought up with army kids, so most of my friends were like 5 feet 10 inches, 6 feet this, and I was pretty short. I was like, I'm right now 5'7". At that point of time I was 5'6". So overall, when I did say that I want to join army, a lot of people, or I said I want to join army, a lot of people were like really having a big laugh at me that man, you're the last person who should be joining army. So that was the first reaction सबका. सेकंड, जब मैंने बोला यार कि मैं आर्मी ज्वाइन करूंगा, वो भी पैराशूट रेजिमेंट, तो काफी हंसे लोग, यानी काफी लोगों ने मेरा मजाक उड़ाया कि यार नटे क्या समझता है, इतना आसान है क्या क्लियर करना, ये वो. So all this was happening in my graduation days, but I was very clear that this is something I want to give it my best shot. So I was very clear internally that I want to do it, though the external environment was pretty much ki yaar he can never do it. Because of my personality, call it physical personality, the way I was very, very laid back. I used to take life very easy. So that was one of the reasons. Second thing was that there were a lot of people preparing for, joining the army. Like I had at least 7-8 guys with me who were preparing very seriously to join the army. I was not preparing that seriously. Yeah. So in terms of their intent, and it was quite intense the way they were preparing, like, they used to go for group discussion, coachings, they used to do all these things. And they used to, study a lot for the entrance exam, things like that. So I was not giving it that kind of an effort. And the preparations, what I did was I started preparing it for it from the second year onwards, second year of my graduation. So there were main 3 preparations I did. One, of course, the entrance part. I did buy those books, which have got a lot of question banks, how to clear those, the entrance. Reason being, I'm from a commerce background. So typically, if you are not a science graduate, you are from commerce or arts, you have to put in a little bit of extra effort to clear that CDS exam, right? तो वो एक preparation तो 100% मैंने second year से शुरू कर दी थी. That was the first. Second was definitely I went for some coaching from a professional institute. There was an institute in Delhi. I remember it was run by a gentleman known as Kansi. I don't know if you know.
Academy.
Huh?
Balnoi Academy.
Balnoi Academy, right? So I took a train from Belgaum, where I used to live, and specially went to Delhi, stayed 15 days there, and then got trained by Kansi sir, and which really helped me. There I got a clarity that, man, that this is something which, doesn't look that complex. I'm talking about preparation for SSB. Second is that. Third is I also started preparing myself physically. So somewhere inside from my second year, I knew that I'll crack army. I don't know why I knew that. ऐसा कोई मेरे पास fixed formula नहीं था, but एक confidence था. Or I knew that if I have to join paras, I need to really get myself, physically in shape. So every day I used to play like 8 to 10 games of squash. And after that, I used to minimum run like 5 kilometers. In a week, I used to run 10 kilometers. So I had started physically getting myself to a level where I had become very fit by the time I joined the academy. So these were the 3 preparations I did. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's very, very meticulous. And while you've been sounding very modest in your approach, but if the message to all you aspirants who are watching us, if you know where you want to be and if you've started preparing for it maybe 2 years in advance, that's a very, very sincere approach. Somebody who lives in Belgaum coming to Delhi. So very often I have seen a lot of people, Vineet, they talk about things, but when it comes to, doing that extra bit, वो लोग अपने comfort zone से बाहर नहीं जाना चाहते हैं, right? Come to think of it, एक और approach ये रही होती कि आप वहीं पे बेलगाम में कुछ 4-6 ऑफिसर से बात कर सकते थे, स्पेशली बिकॉज आपके घर का ऐसा बैकग्राउंड था कि अगर आपके फादर या मदर कुछ अरेंज वहां पे करवाते तो जरूर किसी ना किसी से कोई बातचीत आपकी हो सकती थी. बट यू इंस्टेड took the harder route and you came all the way from Belgaum to New Delhi to attend a coaching like a commoner. And so hats off to you and thank you so much. So you moved to academy. So now this is where we share a common platform. And interestingly, I don't have a way to change the camera. Of course, actually I have, but the background is not great. There is another coursemate of mine who's sitting right across me, and that's Captain Sinha, Saurabh Sinha, and we all were, of course, course mates. So we all have our own stories, Koka. और वो बहुत प्लेटून स्पेसिफिक होती थी, बहुत कंपनी स्पेसिफिक होती थी, ज्यादा से ज्यादा बटालियन स्पेसिफिक होती थी, क्योंकि इसके बियॉन्ड जो भी होता था वो तो महाभारत होती थी, वो मतलब एकेडमी लेवल का सिर्फ रगड़ा ही होता था. उसके अलावा तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई इंटरेस्टिंग चीज होती थी जो भी कुछ एकेडमी लेवल पे कभी होता था. So, do you have some memory of your academy time, which you think is worth mentioning here?
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of memories. But before we move on to that, I wanted to answer one more question of yours. That when I went for my SSB, as I told you, we had 8 to 10 more guys preparing for it, right? And they were very, very serious. And some of them were like, I would say 3-4 of them were like very, very patriotic, very, very, that extra Josh was there for the country and all. And 4-5 of them were engineers, very qualified. And there were 3-4 of us which were from normal, graduation background. So you'll not believe, out of those 10 guys, in the first attempt of SSB, only me and one more guy known as Raj made it. So we made our SSB in the first attempt. The other 8 guys, out of that, 2 guys couldn't join, and 6 of them made it in different attempts. So basic learning what I want to give you is that just because you're very serious, just because you're highly patriotic, just because you show some extra Josh, doesn't mean army will take you. You need to be a balanced person, and you need to be very, very practical and meticulous in terms of your, preparation for SSB. So the most important thing what army is looking is a balanced person who can be a good communicator and influencer, and not that you are just filled with only Josh and, a lot of extra Josh. So it all depends like that. So now coming back to the academy question, yeah, I have a great memory of academy. So, I was an army officer's kid. My parents were commanding officers always. So when I joined army, I thought that I'll get a warm welcome in the academy. So when we reached the station, I still remember it was me, Kshitij, and a couple of other guys. So I really remember Kshitij a lot, who was one of our course mates, very sweet guy. So there was a Shaktiman which was sent, which I think so before us had downloaded or transported some atta from one location to the other. So the whole Shaktiman was white with atta, and that was the vehicle which came to receive us. And we all sat in that vehicle and everybody was looking at each other, thinking that, man, we thought we have cleared SSB. We are now officers. It looks like a very shitty vehicle has come to pick up. Everyone's pant is getting white shirt because everywhere there was atta. And finally, when we got down in the academy, it was hot like crazy, right? You remember the heat of Chennai.
Absolutely.
So there, all of us were made to undress there in the garden. In front of that, our mess was there, right? And they said, you need to change here only. Take out your civil clothes and just start wear your that black trousers and white shirt and that OTA tie. And that put the box on our head. And they were making us it was very confusing, like very confusing that which company you belong to, where you have to go. So that is one memory I have. Like when you go to OTA, IMA or something, you think that you will be treated very royally, but you get a total opposite हो जाता है तुम्हारे साथ. तो वो एक मेमोरी है. एंड सेकंड मेमोरी है जब द फर्स्ट डे हम जब पहुंचे, हमारे सीनियर्स नहीं थे वहां पे. So the first day we reached, we were all alone. So in the evening, they came back from a camp. I'm sure you must be also remembering. All of them
Yes,
were.
yes. I think it's designed like that, that the day you reach, the seniors have been given a really tough day, so that when they reach back home, they find those chubby, fair, nice, crisp, you know.
Yeah. So myself, Rajni is there, Farooq Khan, we all were there, we course mates. And the night the seniors came, the first night itself, they rugged us so much, whether it was call it mental mental pressure, asking all kinds of funny questions, who you are, how the hell did you end up here, or physically, just making you do a little bit of physical exercises and all. And most of us are not used to that, right? So I remember the first night itself, 2 guys fainted. I'll not name them. This is the open forum. But it was not that tough a night. It was pretty easy compared to other nights. Like it was one of the most lousy and the easiest night. But the whole chaos of landing at this railway station, coming there, it had already put everybody under a lot of stress. And evening that extra ragda a little bit. It must be like 1/10 of what we guys have gone through. But 2 guys conked and they were not able to take it. So it was like, those are the 2 memories I have of academy, which were mainly of the first day. Other days were literally, as tough as it gets. And for me, I've done the most difficult courses of Indian Army, right? I've done 4 courses of HOS, High Altitude Warfare School. I've done the commando course. I got I got an instructor grading in all these courses. Then I did the diving course with Marine Commandos. But for me, still, my academy time was the most toughest time and the toughest training I've done. I really consider that as the toughest training which I've gone through.
Yeah. So before this statement of Koka scares you up, I will definitely want to hear from Koka. In spite of calling the academy the toughest training, hardest time, I think we all are in sync when we have to say that still academy was the best time.
Yeah, it was the best time. Yeah, definitely a great time, because we actually, it changed us as individuals, right? And it really changes you. It's not that you need to be from a civilian background. Like I was all-time army brat, right? I was born in an army hospital, man. So imagine how more army can you be? My color is not green. That's what my skin color could have been green. That's how army. But in academy time, I had a shock of my life. So a captain whom I used to take very casually in my normal graduation days, during parties or during squash courts, in academy, literally seeing that guy, I used to run away. That man, I don't want to face this guy. Or a junior commissioned JCO Saab, whom I used to think that, okay, man, it's normal. In academy, I never wanted to meet him. Like I knew that all of them were like great trouble for me. So it really changes your perception towards army. It really reforms you as an individual. And I'm sure you all would have also gone through that. Yeah.
Yep. I'm absolutely with you on this. So, Koka, we all look at paratroopers very differently. And as you've just mentioned that you've gone through the toughest of the training that Army can offer, right from high altitude warfare to diving with Marine Commandos to, of course, being a paratrooper, you have your own jumps. and not to miss the commandos. And when all of this is done, there is another aspect that people want to understand, that how does the probation into para, like as you mentioned, कि तुम्हें हमेशा से you were absolutely clear that you wanted to get into para SF, right? What was your experience of your probation time? क्योंकि बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जिनके अंदर ये जोश जुनून सब कुछ तो होता है, but unfortunately जाते तो हैं लोग, but सभी लोग probation अपनी clear नहीं कर पाते हैं.
Right.
So what is that process? What is it that you go through when you go through the probation is something that we would want to understand.
Yeah. So I'll just say two things here. One is, in paras, they always say that you don't need to be physically that tough. You need to be mentally very tough. So I have always never forgotten that line in my life, that, physical toughness is nothing great, but you need to be mentally very tough. That is the first thing. And second, the apt line for paras is, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? You must have heard of this.
Yeah.
So, see, academy was tough because, the schedule is so compact, right? You're getting up morning, you're going for a drill, then PT, then another class, then at night, seniors are not leaving you. So it's the time management stress which you have in academy, right? But the big advantage in an academy is that you're doing it with your buddies. So I have you, I can crack 2-3 jokes with you. I have Saurav, I can crack 2-3 jokes. We all are rolling together, right? So it's very tough, but okay, because you're doing it as a group, you get over it. The same thing applies to other courses. Commandos, you're doing it with a group. Commandos is super tough. But what happens in commandos is, by the time you start doing your commando course, you have reached certain level of toughness. In academy, you're not tough, right? You are just coming from a civil background. So they tune up your body very fast. That's why academy is very tough. The science behind. Now in commandos, by the time you reach commandos, you're already gone through your academy training. You're a young officer. You're doing a lot of things in your battalion. So commandos is tough, but your body goes over it because it has been tuned to that level, physically and mentally. Otherwise, commando course is a nightmare. Everybody knows in Indian Army that it's not a piece of cake, right? Now, HAWS and all are specialized courses. Diving is a specialized course. I'll not go over that, right? What they are about. But in all these courses, whether it's academy training, commando course, high altitude mountain warfare, high altitude winter warfare, the diving course, one thing common is you are doing it with a group of people. Now reverse it the other way around. So when you go for a parachute regiment, provision, one is there is no set formula for that. Every battalion of parachute regiment follows its own procedure of how they select an officer. So that itself is tough. You don't know what is the process, what is the selection process, and why you will be selected. Like in commandos, I need to do my 5 and 20, 10 and 40, 20 kilometer run and so time. I need to be good in demolition. I need to do the Lido jump well, and I'll get an instructor grading. If I don't get an instructor grading, I'll get a Q, so that I don't have to do this course back. So here you cannot calculate, firstly. So there is no set process of why you will be selected and why you will not be selected in a parachute regiment. The second thing is, you're doing this alone. So when you're doing the same thing alone, right, it's very demotivating. You don't have anyone to share your difficulties with. You don't have a buddy. You're all alone 6 months of your life, right? And the third thing is, the whole ecosystem rejects you from day one. So you might be a great sword of honor in academy. You might be a gold medalist. You might be coming from a normal infantry battalion. Like I went from a normal infantry battalion where I was instructor grading in all courses, but they say, who are you, man? You're nothing. Take out your ranks. You start from zero. And they will never motivate you in the sense that you're doing well. If you're doing well, they'll make it more tougher for you. So their aim is, so a parachute battalion aim is that you should give up. So they just want to see whether you can sustain that mental stress, physical stress, and still keep performing over a long period of time. That's why the provision period is 6 months. So people give up. It is super tough, but you're doing it alone. So you don't have anybody. For example, you and me in academy, wherever I'm feeling a little bit low, you will say, come on, yaar, Koka, don't give up. Chalna. और थोड़ा भागते यार 10 किलोमीटर और है. Yeah, nobody is telling you. So you start going into a cocoon where you start doubting yourself. Am I good enough? Am I doing well? And the tough schedule and routine, right, keeps putting more question marks in front of you. So slowly a person thinks, should I do it? 5-6 महीने में ये करूं और उसके बाद भी ये लोग मेरे को लग रहा है रिजेक्ट कर देंगे मेरे को. But what they are checking is, can you do it? And most of the people who give up during para provision are the people who themselves give up. So like on the 10th day, they say that I don't want to do this. Or somebody will say after 1 month. But staying there is the toughest. So they are not checking you on any standards that you need to do this run at this speed or this. They are just checking, can you stay there? Half the people are not able to stay there. Yeah.
So, Koka, you've just pointed out two aspects. One is when you go to the academy, and one is while you go through your probation at any parachute regiment. And this aspect is when you go to the go for your SSB. There are a lot of people who look tall, who look very enthusiastic, who look very patriotic, and you suddenly feel that they know so much and I don't know as much as they know. One aspect. And you feel that you're not good. The feeling of being not sufficient. Same when you go for your parachute regiment probation. As you just mentioned that you're there with them 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you've survived with them. And then there is this feeling that creeps in. Would you still be accepted or not?
Yeah.
So as individuals, we all have our own cope-up mechanism with these pressure. And और ये चीजें सिर्फ फौज में नहीं होती हैं. आप अगर अपनी क्लास में हैं, आप अगर किसी सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस में हैं, आपके स्कूल का कोई प्रोग्राम हो रहा है, डिबेट हो रहा है, स्कूल स्पोर्ट्स टीम का सिलेक्शन हो रहा है, जिंदगी में बहुत सारी जगहों पे ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है जब आपको लगता है कि you're not that good and the others are better than you. What is your cope-up mechanism when you get into such situations, right? When you went to the academy where this is not to, also this is to break a myth that, you know, this height, build, and all of this. Here you have an officer who was 5'6" when he approached getting into the defense forces. And he not only became an officer like others, but he also went to the elite para forces. So one thing that you all need to take out of your mind is that build and, you know, that macho thing that you need to carry with yourself is not required. Coming back to you, Koka, what is your mechanism of dealing with this situation that, you know, you're not enough?
See, one thing is, from a very young age, I understood it. I understood that never come under peer pressure. So the second thing is never cross compare. So the day you come under peer pressure, right, you start feeling that maybe I'm not that good enough, like that, right? And second is you never cross compare with others. You have your strengths, the other person has their strengths. You have your weaknesses, the other person has their weaknesses. So this was a mantra I followed from very young days. I used to never, and this also actually helps you in a lot of other things, like good facets of like if you're not under peer pressure, you don't compare yourself with others, you just do your work, you're not jealous of others, you're not negative towards others, you're more attuned towards what you want to do in life and what you want to achieve. So now I'll give you the first question. First, that is an absolute myth that if you are a 6-feeter, 5'10", you're good looking, or you have muscles, you can be a better army officer, or you have more chances of getting selected in army. If you on an average look at any army officer, he is like a very average Indian who comes from a middle class family and who has lived a very tough and a you know, disciplined life. That's an average army officer, whoever has joined. There will be few exceptions here and there, but I'm talking about if you take holistically an average. So what is it that makes you different is that you are pretty balanced in your mindset. So you need to be balanced. See, if there are guys better than you, but there are also 400 seats to join an IMA. So now you have to say that, do you want to be the first guy out of that 400 or you want to join the IMA? So somewhere you are not that bad that you will not fit into between number 1 and number 400, right? You'll fit in. If you are 390th also, you'll become an officer. So you don't have to come under peer pressure at all. That is the first thing. Second is, don't cross compare, because you're too young. You right now, you don't know that what are the aspects or points on which army is judging you, or how these, the selection officer, GTOs, and what are the things they are looking at us. And there is no fixed recipe or secret recipe to clearing SSB. It's all very personality driven, and it's all very, very, very individual driven. So, and that's SSB is also one of the very tough things to crack, because you don't know what they are looking at and why they will select you. But what I feel is that mostly guys who get selected, they have 3 qualities in them. One, they are balanced personalities. Typically, they are balanced. They are people who have gone through a experience in life, and they have reached that stage where they want to join army. Second thing, what I've noticed is that they are very agile and moldable. So it's, if you are not agile and not moldable, agile means ready to learn, ready to listen to others, improve yourself. That's another quality they are looking at. And third is, of course, they are looking at your leadership quality and a balanced approach. At the age of 20, 21, you and me, Dharamveer, we were commanding 120 people, sometimes even 800 people, right? So at the age of 20, if you don't have leadership qualities, if you are not balanced, how will you manage such a situation, right? So I think that these are the 3 things which you should focus on more than trying to come under peer comparison, pressure, or think that, am I good enough, or things like that, because there are a lot of vacancies and you will fit in definitely if your preparation and planning is good.
Brilliant. So now I'm moving to another question, which is something that while I serve the organization, but even I am curious, because कई बार क्या होता है कि आप अपने seniors से ये सवाल पूछ नहीं पाते हैं और अपने juniors से पूछने में आपको लगता है कि यार इससे कैसे पूछूं, right? So there are a lot of perceptions around what commandos do, you know. मतलब अगर मैं एक आम यहाँ पे जो लोग बैठे हुए हैं एस्पिरेंट्स, अगर मैं इनको बोलूं कि हमें 5 चीजें बताओ जो आपको लगता है कि कमांडो करता है, तो उसमें से 80% लोग शायद ये जरूर बोलेंगे कि वो सांप खाते हैं, कच्चा खाना खाते हैं, and all these, so there is a lot of perception, there's a lot that goes in their mind that कि कमांडो का मतलब ये होता है. So can you take us through the life of a commando, right, when you go through your probation? And then my next question is around your service and operation, but during the probation, when you are saying कि वो एक तो आप अकेले रहते हो, दूसरा वो आपको तोड़ना चाहते हैं, that's the whole thing that they want to see कि मतलब ये टूटेगा कब जाके बंदा, right? तो वो process क्या करवाते हैं, कौन सी वो, what is that routine that you have to follow where you feel कि मतलब छोड़ यार हटा सावन की घटा टाइप्स?
तो बेसिकली जब पैरा प्रोविजन के लिए आप जाते हो, तो एक तो ये कि बहुत ही टफ रूटीन होता है. आई मीन डे इन एंड डे आउट, you are every day, like the first day you're getting up at 5 o'clock, the day finishes at 11 o'clock, after a few days it comes to 4 o'clock, then suddenly it will come to 3 o'clock, and after a month or 2 months it's like you're getting up 2:30 and you're finishing your day at 10 or 11. So there is hardly 3-4 hours of sleep, right? And the whole day you're doing something and you're doing all alone. I'll again reiterate the fact that you're doing it all alone. You're running BPT 5 kilometers, you're running alone. You're running 10 kilometers, you're running alone. So these are few things. The second thing is they take the physical fitness to another level. Like for example, in commandos, if you are doing like the commando course, you do it with a rifle and a 18 kgs, right? Here they take the weight to almost 24 kgs, right? Along with your AK-47. And even the physical standards are a lot. Like in commandos, you can do BPT, you can come excellent 25 minutes. But in paras, they will accept you to at least come in 20-21 minutes. So 4 minutes is a lot of time.
A lot of time.
And then they will start putting you under more stress. Like they make you do 10, 20, 30, 40, 60. And the final race back, they make you do 120 kilometers, right? So over a period of 6 months, imagine, in commandos, we do 30-kilometer race back, max 40 kilometers. Here you are doing 120 kilometers race back. And it's not easy running 120 kilometers with 24 kgs of weight and AK. Once you put that rucksack on your back, right, the 24 kgs feels like 100 kgs. And the second thing is, then they train you a lot. When you're going through such physical stress, they make you go through a lot of exercises. Like, they make you go through a lot of training, whether it's, firing, they want you to fire accurately with that kind of a stress level, whether it's night firing, whether it is, opening of a weapon or, dismantling and mantling it in pitch dark and firing it. So these are some technical things, whether it's demolition, learning about demolition. And imagine the whole battalion is training you. That is one. So it's one, you're all alone, a tough and a long routine. Second, very, very stressful, where the physical standards are stretched to the maximum. And third is, they also make you go through a lot of stress phase. Like stress phase means there is a phase where at least 10 days, they don't allow you to sleep even for a minute. And when I say a minute means not even a minute you can sleep for 10 days. And they take you to a field area. Like I did my provision in Agra. There is a place known as Sar Mathura. And there they make you route marches, and all 10 days you cannot sleep. And during that time, they even take your tests, like written examinations and all. So they want to see if you're not slept for 10 days, how are you scoring in an examination? And the most important thing they see is whether you are whether you have good team spirit. When you're going through all these things, what's your basic social reaction when you're put under so much stress? Are you still working with a team? You're looking at the end objective. Are you a team player? If you're not a team player, you cannot join parachute regiment. And in fact, I say if you're not a team player, maybe it's very difficult for you to join Indian Army also, right? So that itself is a lot of stress, and doing it over 6 months, right, requires some kind of mental toughness. However tough you are, they will break you. And they also have some typical exercises like water exercise, where they will try to, put you in a water tank. They will try to take you down, drown you. And you need to be very cool in those kind of circumstances to not give up. If you panic and if you say, no, I'm drowning, that I don't want to do it, that's what they want to hear from you. That you say this one line, I'm giving up, I don't want to do it. And that same day, they'll say, thank you very much, you're good to go back.
Brilliant. So now that you are an officer, you've already seen a battalion life, you have the stars, and then you go for your probation, right? And obviously, there must be some officers who must be designing certain part of your training for you. But I'm very sure that of the 6 months, at least 5 months you are staying with men, Ustad and the JCOs. So do you recall any instance when somebody who was not of the officer rank and has probably thrashed you, abused you, made you do something which you felt that how dare he can?
Yeah, definitely. See, when I went for my para provision, I was already a captain. So I went after 2 years. So I just become a captain. So first thing is, they removed my captain ranks. They said, you're no more a captain. You're like a soldier. Okay. Second is, my provision officer was junior to us. So we were equivalent to 110 course, right? So my provision officer was a guy who was 113. So he used to thrash me, bash me, make me do all kinds of stupid things throughout the night. At night, 11 o'clock, when I was totally tired, he used to call me in front of his room. He used to ask me to dig a trench. He never used to allow me to sleep. So my provision officer was a junior guy. So he was junior to us. He was lieutenant. Second is, I had all the JCOs, all the ustads in parachute regiment. They can be quite witty towards you. So they'll never motivate you. They'll always say, if you're done your run in an excellent time, they'll say, "Saab theek hai, ये पैरा में ऐसा चलता रहता है, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है ये. Whereas they know that this is a good time. The timing of the run is good. You did a great job, but they will never give you a positive feedback. That's their way of actually breaking you, where you start questioning yourself. Where you said no, when you see other guys who are much capable or who are, maybe have got a great body, this, that, you start questioning whether I belong here, right? The same thing they do. So they will never give you a positive feedback because they want you to question yourself. And eventually you get into the dilemma where you start thinking that whether I'll get selected or not. And why am I going through all this hell, right? So every guy in parachute regiment, the day you land, will thrash you, will bash you, will make you do, I mean, literally not hit you. Thrash and bash means they'll make you do all kinds of stupid things which are unimaginable, and they'll make your life hell. From a soldier to a havaldar to a JCO to an officer. So you are the junior most guy when you go for a parachute regiment. And for 6 months, anybody can make you do anything. And as you mentioned, right, what is different about being a commando, right? So there they develop these qualities. One, they make you a team player because they bring your ego down to zero. Whether you're an officer, whether you're sword of honor, it doesn't matter. So you become a team player. You start understanding the basic essence of why you should be in a parachute regiment, because it's a small team concept. They operate in squads, right? Second is they train you extremely hard on your physical capabilities. So now when you go to Kashmir and all, imagine those mountains, climbing those mountains with the fittest guys in Indian Army, right? So you as an officer have to be as good as them, right? So they really train you physically that you're that fit. Third is they also train you a lot technically on the kind of weapons you operate, whether it's the AK series of weapons, whether it's Uzi, whether it's VZ, whether it's the grenade launchers, whether it's the night vision, equipment they have. Everything as an officer, they train you to the extent that you even know how to operate a tank, right? As a para commando, I know how to operate a BMP or a tank, right? And the third comes the parachute jumps itself. So everybody thinks that parachute regiment is all about jumping from the plane, but before you even reach the plane, you have to go through a lot of weighing, right? So last aspect of it is the parachute jumps, where they train you how to jump out of an aircraft, how to jump out of a helicopter. And then you become a para commando, where first you are a team player, second you are extremely fit, third you are technically super qualified on the equipment, weapon system, navigation, tactics, everything, and fourth is you are a paratrooper who can jump out of the plane or a helicopter. That's an added qualification. On top of that, you can also be a combat free faller or a deep sea diver. Like combat free faller is a guy who jumps out of 25,000 feet, opens the parachute at 15,000. He does HAHO, which is high altitude, high opening, HALO, high altitude, low opening jumps. You can specialize as a CFF guy, or you can also specialize as a deep sea diver, which you do with Marcos, right? So that is what is a parachute regiment or a para commando, and that's what para guys do. And why they do it is that because they are trained for that. And none of these things are important, whether you are eating a chicken raw or you're eating fish, all those things. At that state of mind, you will eat a human being also. So those things don't matter during training. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm pretty sure there are two kind of people who are, there are two ways to look at things. Sometimes you feel that this is too much of negative motivation. And sometimes you feel that, this is something that I want to do in my life and this is what I want to achieve. And this thin line is something, जब आप अपने SSB के लिए भी जाते हो, तो ये जो मैंने पहला वाला ऑप्शन बोला जिसमें कुछ लोगों को ये लग रहा होगा कि oh my god, this is too much of negative motivation. So let me be blunt enough to say this right in your face that you'll be wasting your time and energy and money if you want to approach defense, if you think that this is any kind of negative motivation, because it's not a job. When you go there, you only go there because you are beyond you, right? If you're thinking about yourself, this is not the organization for you. No matter you are there for 5 days, 10 days, 5 years, 2 years, 20 years, 40 years, but till the time you are there, everything that the organization offers you is over and above you. Aapke wo beyond hai.
And I want to add here to what you have said, Dharamveer, beautifully brought out. And trust me, guys, army is a very tough career option. If you want to be in army and you want to do well in army, it's not a piece of cake. Like you need to be extremely motivated, extremely qualified. Every 2-3 years, there are checks and balances. There are courses like commando course, young officers course. There's junior command, there's staff college. There are so many postings you have to do to keep yourself qualified. And I've been on both the sides of the fence. I've been in the army. I've been working in, I've worked with big corporates. I've done my own startups. I've been working with startups. Still, I would say that, if you want to be successful in army, you need to be very disciplined and you need to really put in an effort. Outside still, okay, you can get away from, not following a process. Like, you can spin your startup in a different way, make lots of money, right? But in army, you cannot do, there is nothing like an alternative option. So, and second, army is a full-time responsibility. It's not a job which gives you a monthly salary. So if you are joining army for a monthly salary, if you're joining army thinking that it's going to be a great life, I'll enjoy in the officers mess, or I'll have a great salary, or I will see good places, I think so that's the biggest myth you will have about army. So don't come with those fundas in life that army is, something as a very green pasture. Yeah, it's got great respect. It's a great career to be in, but again, it's not easy as a lot of you think.
Brilliant. So now something that's most interesting for me, your tenure post your para probation. So as you mentioned that you were already 2 years of service, और आप एक एज अ कैप्टन गए थे अपनी प्रोबेशन के लिए, आपने 6 महीने वहां पे लगाए. तो जो आपका बाकी का टेन्योर था वो किन जगहों पे हुआ? हैव यू एवर बीन इनटू एनी ऑपरेशन, एनीथिंग व्हिच इज, कई बार ऐसी चीजें हमारे साथ हो जाती हैं जो they're not the best of the memories, but probably they teach the biggest of the lessons in our lives, right? Like I lost a few boys when I was in Gurez. Of course, unpleasant, but I think it taught me a lesson for life. So when you completed your para probation, उसके बाद जब आप अपने para regiment में गए, पैराशूट रेजिमेंट में गए, तो आपकी पोस्टिंग्स कहाँ पे रही? कोई ऑपरेशन जहाँ आप लोग गए हो, कुछ ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस जो आप शेयर करना चाहें हमारे साथ?
Right after I completed my para provision, my unit moved to Kupwara and Machal, right? That's where I served with my unit, and of course there were multiple operations which happened. So our main operational role was that the militants used to cross over into Lolab, which is an area, it's known as Lolab Forest, and from there we were supposed to restrict them to come into the valley, and mainly from Lolab they cross into Kupwara, and from Kupwara they go into Srinagar. So it's like belts. It's like 3 places. If you need to reach Srinagar or the valley, you need to first cross the line of control, come to Lolab, from there come to Kupwara or nearby villages, and then you move into valley. So that was the op role where mostly I served with the parachute regiment around Kupwara and Machal. There is an area above Kupwara. So there are multiple operations which I was part of, but I remember 2-3 operations where in one of the operations, unfortunately we lost a JCO and 3 men. It was a very difficult operation for the battalion, and so again, the learning I got from there is that, however trained you are, but always remember that the other guy in front of you is also equally trained. Never underestimate them. They are also coming with a mission or a goal in life. That is one. So one of the learnings I had was that, again, you might be an officer in the Indian Army, you might be a para commando, but never underjudge or never underestimate the practical experience a person has, right? So when I was operating in that region with my men, So I always saw that, though I was an officer, I was so heavily trained across various courses, but a guy who was like even a Jawan or a Havaldar or a JCO who had done a tenure before me there had more knowledge than me. So always value practical experience over bookish experience. The second thing what I realized is that when you're planning these operations, anything can go wrong anywhere, right? Like I told you about the incident where we lost a JCO 3 men. It was like a very easy operation where on the line of control we were in a firefight with 5 militants, but it turned out that there were not 5, there were even more. There were 15 of them. So we were under strength to kind of take them on, and that's where we lost men. The second incident which I very nicely remember is that one of my men, because these are all high altitude regions and all, so one of my men on him, unfortunately lightning had fallen and he had died on the spot. So and it was snowing everywhere. So I remember evacuating him to the base was like the most difficult thing, where we had to literally tie him onto a big log and bring him down, because there was no other way to bring him, right? Because we were at a place where unfortunately we didn't have the the 4-man evacuator which we have, right? So what I again realized that a lot of us joined the army thinking, oh, like for me it was a great awakening of my life. I joined the army thinking that army is a great career where I'll be a parachute regiment officer, I'll be a para commando. Life is all about jumping out of planes, doing some foreign exercises with Russian paratroopers, the US paratroopers, all that is there. But the bottom line is you're there for a mission, and when that happens in front of you, right, that means when you are totally secluded at a place like Kashmir, at a place like Machal, then all the so-called glamour or style icon disappears, because you are there in one of the most difficult places, trying to undertake one of the most difficult things in life, where not only your life of others is also at stake, and where anything goes wrong, you as an officer will be responsible, whether it's your fault or it's not your fault. So these are some of the learnings I had. So again, I want to repeat to all aspirants that don't think that this is going to be an easy thing to join army. At a very young age, you will go through a lot of mental pressures where you have to perform, because the ecosystem and everyone is looking up to you. You cannot that time say that I don't know how to do this, right? You have to find out a way and do this. In outside world, it's very easy. You can say, hey, this is something I cannot do. Or you will type into Google and learn there, right? But there is no Google and there is no set process of what you need to do. It's all on your instincts. And that's where SSB is very particular about taking matured guys who are very balanced, who can be calm under difficult situations. And I think that those are the traits they look in for when they want to select a person, and not like OLQs and all. There is a big hype about OLQs. I'm a person who was a firm believer that there is nothing like a OLQ. You need to be a disciplined, balanced, and a good human being to really clear SSB.
Very rightly brought out कोका. Another aspect, एक और चीज जो मैं मतलब अभी कोका ने जो बताई और उसको मैं यहाँ पे लिंक करना चाहूंगा. Just imagine yourself going for those coachings और वहाँ पे जाके आप फट्टा बल्ली is what we call it, right? कि GTO टास्क में फट्टा बल्ली दे दिया जाता है और उसमें से आपको एक तरफ से दूसरी तरफ जाना होता है. Now just imagine that scenario जो आप फट्टा बल्ली वहाँ पे करते हो और वहाँ से something like लोलाब, मच्छल, गुरेज, आप उस सेक्टर में चले गए जहाँ पे every step that you take, आपके हर कदम पे, it's not just you, it's not your safety that matters, but आपके साथ अगर 10, 12, 15 की जो टुकड़ी है, उसमें से हर एक इंसान की सिर्फ जान की सेफ्टी नहीं, उनका हथियार, सामान, कपड़ा, everything is your responsibility. So that is where it is said कि फौज की जो सिखलाई होती है, जो ट्रेनिंग होती है, उसमें आपको बहुत ही मेटिकुलसली हर एक चीज को, हर एक एस्पेक्ट को बहुत ध्यान से एज एन ऑफिसर आपको समझना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सिर्फ आपकी नहीं है, आप बहुत सारे बाकी लोगों के लिए भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल हो। और आप जब एकेडमी में जाते हो तो वहां पे चेटवुड क्रेडो हमें सिखाया जाता है, द सेफ्टी, ऑनर एंड वेलफेयर ऑफ मेन यू कमांड कम्स फर्स्ट, ऑलवेज एंड एवरी टाइम। जिन लोगों को आप कमांड करते हैं उनका ऑनर, उनकी सेफ्टी, सब कुछ सर्वोपरि है, राइट? एंड यू आर सेकेंडरी, सबसे पहले बाकी लोग हैं आपके लिए। ओके, सो let me ask you a question, probably put you in little this thing. When did you get married? I mean, I'm switching the question to something else. Or when you were a para commando, how did the market, your people, your college friends, girlfriends, I can see people giggling, reacted to that thing? कि मतलब लेफ्टिनेंट करण शेरगिल मोमेंट आया था कि नहीं तेरे लाइफ में, लक्ष्य वाला, कि जिंदगी के सब फैसले तुम नहीं कर सकती रोमी टाइप्स?
नहीं ऐसा, I was not that fortunate to have such a moment in my life.
This session is recorded.
Right.
Your wife has access to this too.
No, that's fine.
Public.
No, that's fine. So when actually I was dating somebody when I joined the army, and one of the reason why I had a break off was, the girl said that you want to join army, it's very risky. You want to join parachute regiments, it's very risky. So my army career started with a break off. So that's on a lighter note. And when I joined army, I think so time flew, man. I didn't come to know actually in this whole I did like 6 years in the army, and was back to back in courses. I served with 2 battalions. So maybe that magic moment did not come. So my magic moments came after I left the army. When I was in the IIM, and after IIM I joined my first job in Satyam Computers, now known as Tech Mahindra. Then I went to Brazil for 3 years. I stayed there. I worked there for about 3 years. And then finally, when I came back, I was from Brazil. I was doing my own startup, which was known as Creative Pixels, which later on got acquired by the Sterling Group. So during that startup time, I met my wife. And by that time, I was already, I think I was 32. Yeah. So I got married pretty late. So I was like more busy sorting out my personal stuff, my professional stuff, than than kind of going for dates or doing other stuff. So I was not as lucky as you, Dharamveer. Yeah, I'll put it like that.
I was about to say that you genuinely made me envious, because all that I'm going to remember is that कि तुमने अपना tenure खत्म किया, फिर आप ब्राजील गए, 3 साल ब्राजील रह के आए, उसके बाद कहीं जाके आप परिणय सूत्र में बंधे. Dude, I was like in my first year of naukri and
you got married, right?
Game over.
Game over.
Remember that?
I was very fortunate that way that मेरा game over बहुत जल्दी नहीं हुआ. That is the reason, during army time also I was a bachelor, so I was very busy with my my parachute regiment life. Of course, I would like to believe that people used to think that I was a very smart, a very good army officer or a good-looking army officer. But I'm again saying I would like to believe. But yeah, after leaving the army, things were very exciting. Like, I think so. Before 2011, when I was even 31, I had already traveled to about more than 40 countries. And at a very young age of 32, I did my first startup. So that way life was really in a jet speed, and actually on a jet plane. I mean, traveling the Boeing from here and there. So I actually went to Brazil to set up my company's LATAM office. We had set up a Latin America office, and I was VP of the company. So that was the reason. Yeah. But yeah, life was super exciting those days. And as this session is being recorded, I'll not share some stories of what happened in Brazil or outside of India when I was there for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. What happens in Brazil stays in Brazil.
Yeah. You can also say that about Bangkok, where I'm now.
No, so Bangkok, you don't have an option, man. You are a family there. So
Great.
okay, so now a couple of interesting aspects that I would want to touch upon here is two questions. One is I just saw a pop-up where somebody asked, can you give us a little insight on how army wives' life is there in defense? I'm adding to it. How does it help an officer do his job better, stress-free, if the wife is aligned to your overall army existence? You got 1 point is here. Second is a lot of people, a lot of aspirants, they ask all of us, I'm pretty sure these questions would have come to you as well. How is the transition? Sir, फौज के बाद बाहर की life कैसी है? How easy or difficult it is to this transition into the civil world? There is this fear of unknown. और बहुत सारे लोग ये एक सवाल पूछते हैं कि आपने 5 साल के बाद छोड़ क्यों दिया, आप आगे क्यों नहीं गए? So I think we all have our own reasons, and life is not a framework जिसमें सब कुछ उस framework के अंदर जो चीज जहाँ पे होनी चाहिए वैसे नहीं हो पाती है कई बार. We all have had our own struggles, so the results would always be different for all of us. So yes, these two questions, Koka. One, how is the life of an army wife, and how does it help an officer do his job better if she is aligned to his existence in the army? Second, transition to a civil career.
Great. So for the first question, so since I left army as a bachelor, so maybe I really don't have an experience that close of how the life of an army officer's wife is. But since I've been all my life in army, right, I can tell you that the army is an organization where it's a 24/7 kind of a duty which you have towards the organization. So when I say 24/7, the men you are commanding in army or the people come from very remote places, and they really don't have, at least in our time, they did not have access to a lot of information. They did not have access to a lot of things in terms of how to take care of a lot of stuff related to their families, because the men were so busy. See, half the time, at least you take if you take about 7 para only moves 2 locations. It stays in Agra, then it goes to one location. I'll not name that location publicly. Then it comes back to Agra. So there, the families are always in Agra. The men are up in J&K, right? So one is that when the army officer's wife, by nature of being in army, are responsible towards the families of men, because they are more educated, they have seen more of the world, so they are in a position to guide them better, to mold them better, whether it's simple thing like healthcare, whether it is simple thing like kids education, whether it's some social welfare programs towards I would not say uplifting them, but at least bringing them at a higher level to understand what's happening. So one, the reason why an army officer's wife is heavily involved in a lot of additional responsibilities, sadly you don't get paid for it, that is something which you're doing for the organization, is because your men come from certain areas where they don't have that much of exposure to life. So you have that responsibility to guide them and their families on certain aspects, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's saving. So that is one responsibility which comes onto you. Second is, as an army officer's wife, you also have some additional responsibility in terms of the complete battalion duties. Like if there is an annual get together, there is a silver jubilee, golden jubilee, So you are expected to prepare for that, whether it is, weekly Sanic Sammelans, which happen. So these are some extra responsibilities which come upon you. But again, there are two ways of taking it. Some people take it in a very negative way, that this is something which is all extra, I don't want to do it. I've not met many people who are like that, but most of the people take it in a positive way, because they really feel that you're doing something for giving back to the organization, and you're actually doing something for giving back to the society. And as an army officer's wife, you do need to pitch in terms of these extra responsibilities, which can create a positive environment for you and your husband, that you are really attached to the battalion or attached to this organization. But things are also changing now. Now a lot of army officers' wives are working ladies, where the organization is very considerate. They understand that you cannot stay at remote places. You just come back, for a month, sometimes in a quarter, and then ladies, the whole ecosystem adjusts to the fact that, okay, since you're working, since you're here sometimes only, or if you're there and you're still a working woman, so it's not that a lot of stuff is given to you to do. So things are changing a lot from the previous old times. So that's to answer my first question. Hope I answered it. I took slightly longer to answer it because I don't have practical experience of that. The second question somebody asked me was that why did I leave army? I left army on disability pension, because in a parachute jump I hurt both my knees. So both my knees are ACL operated. Otherwise, if I had not hurt my knee, if I was physically fit, I would have never left army, because I didn't know anything to do outside of army. I joined army at 19 and a half. I never knew how to survive outside. So even catching a bus or taking an auto used to be a big task for me when I used to go back to Hyderabad or my village, because I was so set into army since my childhood. So there was no way I was going to leave army if the reason I left is because I got injured and medically I was downgraded. So I thought it's better to leave than be in an unfit condition. And definitely I had to opt out of paras, because in paras you cannot stay if you're not physically fit. Now the third question is about the transition from army to outside. Now that transition was a difficult one for me, because I had lived all of my life in the army. So I really did not know how to survive outside in the civil street. But then again, I think so my army seniors, my army batchmates, all of them, really helped me a lot to quickly learn the civil way of surviving in this world. Like Dharamveer was talking about our course mate Saurav Sinha. He was posted at Delhi that time. I was ADC to a general in Ganganagar. So I had a lot of time. I used to come sometimes to Delhi, and I used to spend a lot of time with them trying to understand what is happening in the civil world. Where can we be employed? Can we be employed in such kind of companies? And then again, I planned well for it. It's not like I decided today I'm leaving army and I left. I actually planned over a period of 1 year that I want to leave. What are the opportunities outside? How should I start preparing for them? And of course, the fear of unknown was there. I was not that scared joining the army, but I was more scared leaving the army, because I thought that this is something outside where I have never lived a day outside in the civil street. How will I survive? But overall, I think the ecosystem again helped me, especially my seniors and my course mates. Yeah.
Brilliant. So one thing that I think everyone should take away from here is that it's not only while you are serving the organization, we call it a family, but once you're outside, the number of silver jubilees and reunions that I have seen and the way Army celebrates it, that's a big testimony to that family concept that the Defense Forces is all about.
Exactly. Tomorrow I'm flying to Kalimpong, which is near Darjeeling, to attend my battalion's Golden Jubilee from Bangkok. Yeah. So you never want to miss such moments. I'm just going for 3 days and coming back. Yeah. So these are some things which we really cherish. And we also cherish our bonding so much, right? We all course mates are lifelong friends. We are ready to go out of the way to help each other. So this is something which you don't experience in the outside world. Only army gives it to us. Yeah.
And now, sometimes, a lot of people have commented on retired officers' financial status. We still don't care. Now, let me ask uncomfortable question to Koka. कोका आपके पास कितनी बाइक हैं और कौन कौन सी बाइक हैं? Please listen to this.
No, financial status and all is everyone has their own peace of mind where they want to be in life. So you can never, a figure for you might be different if you are living in Delhi. If you are living in a village, you can live more comfortably and lesser amount of money. So I don't think so. You should be worried about financial status. You should be worried about after I leave army, what is it that I want to do, which keeps me very busy, occupied, and gives me a lot of self-containment, right? So for me, yeah, of course, after leaving army, my passion has been startups, right? I worked in multiple startups. So I have worked in companies where I was the first person, started a company with a single laptop and took it to almost like 400 people. And that company then got acquired. I've set up businesses in Southeast Asia, Latin America from zero. So one is that gives me a lot of satisfaction. That's my passion, working for startups and setting up businesses in totally new geographies. That's what I've been doing for last 10 years. Now, the byproduct of that is, of course, you make a lot of money. And when you make money, you want to enjoy life, whether it is, buying good houses, uh, fulfilling your passion. So I was very passionate about motorcycles right from the age of 18. So my father was a colonel and he brought me my first motorcycle, which was Hero Honda Splendor, again from a CSD canteen. So that is how my riding started, and I've continued that passion. Right now, I have 4 motorcycles. I have the BMW 1000 RR, which is like one of the best sports bikes which you can ride. And then I have a Ducati Panigale uh, Corsa edition. That's one of the most good-looking bikes in the world. Then I have a Ninja 14R, which is the Kawasaki Ninja 14R, which is 1450 cc. And then I have the Pan America Harley Davidson. So these are the 4 bikes I have. I enjoy each one of them to the fullest. And that's my way to release my stress, because I have a hectic professional life where 15 days in a month I'm traveling, mostly out of Thailand to countries in and around Southeast Asia, from Japan, South Korea to Philippines and other places. So whenever I come back to Thailand, I do make it a point that on weekends I do some good riding. So that's one of the passions I have. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm not wrong, you also have a passion for good watches.
Yeah, that's another passion I have. Unfortunately, all my hobbies and passion are expensive ones, man. I wish I had a cheaper one also. So I have a great fascination for watches. Again, it was there from from the time I was in the 8th grade. I think so. My first watch was, my father bought me a Casio watch that time for 200 rupees, and I was so happy that time, looking at the white dial and all. And second was, when I joined the army, I bought my Timex Expedition. You remember that watch, right?
Absolutely.
I bought it from after I became an army officer. We used to get, I think so, 8,000 stipend, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. From that 8,000 stipend, I first time bought a watch which was like 2,500 rupees that time. So I had the passion from that time to watches. Then recently, now I have close to, I think I have around 40 watches, and the collection is very great. Someday when you are in Bangkok, I'll show you. So there are 3 Rolexes there. There are 4 Breitlings. There are 2 Luminars. There are 6, 7 Omegas, and the list goes on. So I keep, but recently I stopped collecting watches because I felt that, one, they were too expensive. Second, I felt that, that's enough. Somewhere you feel that I want to stop now. I don't want to waste money towards things which are very materialistic. So since last, I think so after COVID, my thought process changed a lot in life. I started detaching myself from materialistic things in life. That's a big change. Whether it was, buying these expensive watches, buying cars, or buying, property and all. I feel that I want to be more free and more, I don't want anything to be associated with me, which is like becomes like a liability, which I have to take care of it a lot. Yeah. So that's another hobby I have. Yeah.
So I think the point that I wanted to drive through these questions is number one, of course, we all are aspiring to be successful in life, and that has its own definition for each one of us. Success for you, जैसे अभी कुछ दिन पहले ही किसी से मेरी बात हो रही थी, शायद जब हम लोग छोटे थे तो हमारी माँ जब हमें दूध देती थी तो उससे छिपा के उस दूध को कहीं पे कल्टी कर देना को ही हम सक्सेस समझते थे, राइट?
Yeah.
क्लास में होमवर्क करके नहीं पहुंचते थे और अगर बिना टीचर से पकड़े गए और पूरी क्लास में टीचर ने 10 लोगों से पूछा और आपसे नहीं पूछा गया, वो भी सक्सेस लगता था. सो ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इन लाइफ यू वुड रियलाइज दैट कि आप जहां से आ रहे हो और आपके आसपास का जो एनवायरनमेंट है वो डिसाइड करता है कि आपके लिए सक्सेस क्या है. अनदर एस्पेक्ट दैट आई वांटेड टू ब्रिंग आउट हियर इज कि अगर लाइफ में आपका फोकस क्लियर है, लाइफ में अगर आपको पता है कि आप क्या चाहिए. सी, ये चीजें आप लोग बहुत बार सुन चुके होंगे. नन ऑफ यू यू ऑल आर 18 प्लस, यू आर ऑल एडल्ट्स. इट इज एक्चुअली ट्रू कि आप जिन चीजों को चाहने के, जिन चीजों को आप बहुत शिद्दत से चाहते हो ना, सम थिंग्स, एनीथिंग दैट यू थिंक ऑफ ओनली, सिर्फ वही चीजें आपके साथ होती हैं. आपके सपने में भी सिर्फ वही चीजें आएंगी जो दुनिया आपने देखी होगी. अगर आप यूएस के वॉल स्ट्रीट पे नहीं चले हो तो आपके सपने में कभी वॉल स्ट्रीट नहीं आएगा. अगर मैं दिल्ली में कनॉट प्लेस जाता हूं रोज घूमने तो मेरे सपने में कनॉट प्लेस ही आ सकता है. यू कांट हैव अ ड्रीम ऑफ अ प्लेस विच यू नॉट सीन एवर इन योर लाइफ. सो the motivation and inspiration that I would want to take from my own course mate is that there is a possibility. अगर आप किसी चीज को चाहते हैं, आपके शौक, आपका पैशन, ये सारी चीजें, हार्ड वर्क, लगन, इट्स नॉट कि कहीं से झोले में नहीं आके गिर गया कि मुझे घड़ियों का शौक है, सितंबर के महीने में 9 तारीख को बाहर झोला लेके खड़ा रहना भाई और उसमें 2 ब्रेटलिंग और 3 ओमेगा गिरा दूंगा, राइट? It sounds very fancy that I have been to 48 countries. Believe you me, the week you have to travel to 3 cities within the country, you will hate it if the same travel plan is thrown at you the next week. You will not like it. Am I right or not, Koka?
Yeah, I mean, all these things are very fancy. That's what I'm saying. No, first thing is that from far it looks very good. Like I travel 15 days in a month. People say that's a great life you are having, man. In 15 days, you travel 7-8 countries. But trust me, I'm always looking forward to coming back home, right? Because at home is a place where you really feel good. जो दाल चावल खाने में मजा है वो किसी चीज में नहीं है. You realize this after you have gone through that. And second thing is, our human mindset and our human spirit is such that what you aspire for, right, and when you get it, you don't value it that much, right? So that happens with every one of us. But in my case, I always value what I've got. Like whether it was army, you would have saw that a lot of people want to join army. They're great aspirants, but after doing 5 years in army, a lot of the mindset changes for a lot of people. They feel though this is not a career which I want to do for 20 years, right? For whatever reasons might be. So that whole fondness or that desire or that passion vanishes, right? So what I want to tell you is that just don't look at things from outside and think that, this is something which I want to do until unless you really are passionate about it and you want to do it. And second, of course, I mean, today, nobody is a fool. Every person understands that there is no secret recipe to success other than hard work. You can be at the right place at the right time. You can get lucky once, but you will not be lucky second time. It's luck only strikes once. That's what I believe in. So wherever you are, whatever you are, there is no supplement or there is no way you can get away from hard work. And the last thing what I want to tell you is that, you need to be super agile in life. And I rate agility as the most common and the biggest strength an individual can have. I'll give you an example. Look at how agile we were, like me and Dharamveer. At a very young age, we joined army. We stayed in army for 5 years. If we wanted, we could have continued in this organization for 20 years, retired happily, right? But we were very agile. That is what motivated us to even say, okay, because of whatever reasons, to leave army after 6 years and start something new. And similarly, we are right now also very agile. That's where, Dharamveer at this age is also starting his own, ventures, whether it is social ventures, whether it is his professional ventures. Similarly, I'm super agile. I'm like 41 now, but I'm ready to take risks. I'm ready to work for startups, start my own company. So agility is a very, very important factor in a human being. After determination, you might be determined, but just because you are determined, you will not get there. And now when you don't get there, what will you do? For example, today you want to join army. Suppose you're not able to make it into army. That doesn't mean you're a failure in life. There is a mismatch between army and your personality, but you might do phenomenally well outside. So how agile you are to accept this very fast, to look at alternative opportunities and to really explore them and really go all out on that opportunity. So these are some of my learnings in life, that you need to be very balanced. You need to be very agile. And at the same time, you need to be a very, very positive person in life. If you're negative, and army also says that if you are negative minded, we will not select you. You have to be a positive person despite all odds. And these are some traits we carry with ourselves. If you're balanced, only then will you be in a position to command so many men at such a young age. If you're not balanced, you'll panic. You cannot, and if you are balanced, only then you can have good leadership qualities. Second, if you don't have determination, you'll give up. You'll give up very fast. Whether it's in your OT, whether it's in your academy training, whether it's in your para training, or whether after you become an officer, you'll give up. And third, you need to be super agile. Within army also, you'll see, you cannot say, I'll stay only at one place, I'll not move. Army makes you agile every 3 years. So you have to go to a new place, adjust to a new environment. And not only you, your family also has to do. So these are the 3 qualities which you should take with you. One, be very balanced. Second, be very determined at what you want to do. And third is be super agile in life.
Brilliant. I think we've covered most of the things, Koka. Let's also respect the fact that Thailand is about an hour and a half ahead of us. So whatever you see in your watch, add 1.5 hours to Koka's thing. Koka is married. I can sense that उस दरवाजे के पीछे कोई खड़ा है और 2-4 बार नॉक भी कर चुका होगा कि बहुत हुआ. Koka, I want to ask a question now. Like you said that you injured your knee, in one of the jumps. एक चीज तो ये यहाँ से सामने आती है कि आप इतना कुछ करके, इतनी सारी ट्रेनिंग करके, सब कुछ करके भी आप जाते हैं, तो लाइफ इज वेरी वेरी अनप्रिडिक्टेबल, और सब कुछ ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद भी आपके साथ एक्सीडेंट हो सकते हैं. उसके बारे में थोड़ा जानेंगे, लेकिन पैरा सुनते ही सबके दिमाग में, जैसा कि आपने भी बताया था, लोगों को लगता है कि हाथ से जंप करने वाला, आसमान से आने वाला बंदा. What is that process of jumping? The way you said that you need to respect your equipment, right? How ये चीजें आपके अंदर कैसे इंस्टिल की जाती हैं कि अपना equipment, your parachute, that readiness, what is that whole process of a jump? कब आपको ready माना जाता है? How? See, I also have this question. आप 200 मीटर से कूदोगे या 2000 मीटर से कूदोगे या 20,000 मीटर से कूदोगे, right? But that courage to jump for the first time from a moving helicopter or a plane has to be there, right? So,
right.
What is that preparedness? How does it happen?
It's a very interesting question. See, it happens very naturally. I'll tell you why. One is you have already gone through a long provision period where They have prepared you for that, that if you get selected, that means you only go for your jumps if you're selected. Otherwise, they'll not waste money on you, right? So first you're marooned. So everybody tells you that once you're marooned, that means you get your maroon beret, only then you can go for your jumps, right? Second is all your jumps are done with the Air Force. And there is a systematic course they have, which is known as, parachute descent course in Agra. So you go through a 1-month course where there is a lot of ground training. They make you go through a lot of ground training on how to jump out of an aircraft and what are the emergencies you can have, whether your parachute can get entangled, your the parachute ropes can get entangled, how do you jump at night. And then after giving you a lot of that ground training, they also teach you to look at your equipment, which you mentioned. How's your parachute? Is it packed well? Is it in a good state? So you always check that. After you do all this, they take you for something known as an air experience. Their first time they will take you in an aircraft and they'll open up the aircraft from behind. Like the AN-32 aircraft is not like a jet or a what you call Indigo aircraft. It just opens up from behind. So imagine you are sitting there and suddenly the whole aircraft opens up and you can smell the fuel. You can look at the winds directly flashing on you. So there they give you an air experience where there is only a stick, iron rod, which is between you and the aircraft. That means once that small iron rod is down, you can go out of the aircraft. And there they make you stand for a long time. They ask you questions like to understand, are you in your senses and all. So this whole process is done before you even do your first jump. And then they'll take you for your first jump. In that first jump, there is a dispatcher there, and the jump is known as a static line jump. That means you jump out of the aircraft, your parachute opens itself. So it's very easy. So sounds easy that you just need to jump, or it sounds more easy that you just jump there only, and the aircraft will move away because it's moving at 600 kilometers a minute, right? So they joke with you that either you jump out or you just jump there, the aircraft will move out, right? So there actually is it's quite difficult because in your first jump, everybody is scared. So when you go for your first jump, the first thing is you start worrying, looking outside the plane that, my God, the plane is moving, the villages are coming, everything looks very small, right? And you are typically at a 2,000 feet altitude. So from 2,000 feet, you can actually see what is happening down. So if you're jumping from a 15,000 feet and all, you don't care. There are clouds cover. You just directly jump. In 2,000 feet, तुम्हें सब दिखता है कि भाई मैं काफी ऊंचाई से कूद रहा हूँ. And that is the first thing. The second thing is they have 3 lights, which is known as red. Red means you're not supposed to jump. Second is yellow on. That means you're approaching the DZ. Third is green on. Green on means you need to jump. And you need to jump as soon as it is green on because there are 20 more guys behind you. If you even delay 10 seconds or 15 seconds, the last guy will fall outside the drop zone, right? So there the Air Force guy is very ruthless. So he catches you and he mentally instigates you to a level that you feel that, man, come what may, today I have to jump. So one is that adrenaline rush is there, you jump out, and second, you look behind, there are 20 people waiting and you feel, यार jump नहीं किया तो बहुत बेइज्जती होगी यार, बोलेंगे 5 महीने ट्रेनिंग की and jump भी नहीं किया. So naturally the mindset is such that you jump out, and during your first 5 jumps you don't feel much, you just feel that you're jumped. So it's just a gutsy decision you have to take, like how you jump out of a bed, you just jump out and you say, let things go to hell, man, I will somehow manage and land. But after your 5 jumps, you start feeling, now I'm jumping, I'm making a parachute position, my parachute is opening, these are my I'm taking this time my jump was not very good because the position was not compact. So you start feeling, and after 20 jumps, slightly you're in your senses. But every time you do a jump, you are a bit worried because at the end of the day, you're jumping out of a parachute, which will function 99 times out of 100, but it might happen sometimes like what happened with me. Like one point of time, if it doesn't function, there can be a great emergency for which you are not that well trained. How much ever physical ground training you would have done, but actually when the emergency happens, it's a different experience. And one more thing I want to tell everyone is, everybody fascinates para jumps, looking at these, these sports adventure para jumps. In parachute regiment, all jumps happen at pitch dark night, so you can't see anything outside the aircraft. It's normally a moonless night, and you're jumping. And second is, you're jumping with a lot of equipment. You're jumping with your rucksack, your ammunition, you have your weapon with you. So it's not like a fancy jump which you see in your TV. It's a very different experience. Yeah.
And thank you, first of all. This is very, very awakening, and I'm pretty sure this is we almost all of us, including myself, we were visualizing, standing in AN32 at that juncture where 20 people are waiting. And I think the point that you mentioned is very, very interesting, Koka, that if you miss jumping by 15 minutes, somebody will land outside the zone. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Somebody who's the last will probably land somewhere unknown.
Yeah.
Right. So now a little bit about your accident. What happened actually?
Nothing. It was a para jump accident where the parachute didn't deploy well. I had to open up a reserve parachute, and because of that, I had a very hard landing. So as soon as I landed, both my knees were gone. Mainly, the ACLs were gone, and then I had to get a knee surgery done for both my knees, where they do the construction of ACL. There is a ligament known as ACL which binds both the bones of your leg. It's on your knee actually. If you don't have that ligament, your movement becomes very unstable. It pains a lot. So, and once you get that ACL operation done, you're medically downgraded. You no more can serve with the parachute regiment. You cannot do jumps, things like that. So that was an accident I had, and because of that, I got 2 surgeries done, and that's where I had decided that maybe it's time to move out of army and really try something new. Yeah, and that also turned out to be exciting. Yeah, so no worries.
Awesome. So I just hope and pray that you are absolutely fine with your knees, and things go cool with you. With this, now my last question. We always remember that one bad senior for doing something good. When we are there, when he's mentoring you, you don't like it. But when we are out of the system, we remember him and respect him. Do you have someone like that in your mind?
Yeah, I have many of them, but I'll not name them publicly. But we had a SEO who was there in academy. He was a senior under officer, so he had really given us tough times, and he had kind of he used to ragdo us a lot at nights, not allow us to sleep and all. Couple of our course mates got injured because of that, right? If you remember, Chetan Chauhan, Romel Isaac and all. A very tough master. He used to really trouble you a lot. But one thing I saw positive in him was that when he had to trouble you, he had to also get up at night, right? So normally he used to trouble you between 10:30 to 3 o'clock, which is the peak sleeping hour in an academy, or 11 to 3. At that time, he used to get up. He used to make sure that all of you are awake, and he used to trouble. He used to make you do all exercises, also stand mentally, torture you, things like that, by giving long lectures. But overall, I felt that is needed in army training. Army training is a training where if the seniors don't trouble you, they don't physically ensure that you're mentally getting that toughness inside you, then it's not a training, right? Then it's a normal college fun. So that's not the way. So I actually liked my seniors who were physically very tough, and mentally who are very rude to us. Because though I was not like that, I was the opposite, but I liked our seniors who were very, very tough to us, who gave us real tough times, and who mentally were mentally were super rude to us. That means they were like, go to hell, man, I'm going to make your life like a nightmare, right? But that really helped us, because during training, if you don't go through that, later on maybe you're not used to going through some tough situations in life. Yeah.
Cool.
Lot
So
of
I think
questions. Do you want to take some questions?
yeah, so I'm totally aligned to what you just said. People who've been mentally ruthless and physically difficult to us. I think those were the people who helped us survive our tenure in
Exactly.
our outside much better. Now, all right. So I think Vineet, we've had a fantastic session. Once again, I would want to thank you for taking out time, and especially so late in the evening. And I will be very, very honest. There are things that you spoke about today which enlightened me. In spite of being in the system, and today 20 years that I've been part of the system and been out of it, there are things which were new to me, and I'm pretty sure that everybody would have gained a lot of knowledge, and it will help them immensely in their preparation, irrespective which field of life they tomorrow choose to be in. So thank you so very much for your valuable
Thanks, man.
time.
Thanks. Banana, thanks. It was wonderful interacting with you. And thanks for giving me this opportunity. So I'm very happy that so many people are, aspiring to join the army. And I would like to just say that, all of you are aspiring to be in the army. It will not just happen uh, without any preparation. So that's where, whether you are from whichever background, since you have time in hand, you have the resources in hand, please prepare, whether it's for your entrance exam, whether it's for your SSB, preparation. Take a coaching. It really helps. And also start preparing yourself as part of your personality is concerned, so that you can naturally fit into what we call as OLQs, right? I'm a very strong believer of there is nothing like OLQs. I think so. You need to be a agile, a disciplined, and a balanced person, and you all OLQs will fit into you. And the last thing I want to say is that a lot of people you lose your natural self, thinking too much about how to crack SSB. What are these OLQs? The golden rule of SSB is, if you're not natural, you will never crack an SSB. So you have to be natural. And the second golden rule is, you have to be positive. We hear this a lot, but if you don't have these two qualities and you're trying to pretend to be someone else, trying to fit forcefully into the formula of OLQs, you are making your chances more difficult to crack an SSB. Yeah.
And with this, we come to end of this session. Since the beginning has already been so good, I am feeling good. I'm not sure how it went with everyone else. And we're just hopeful that we continue to bring in new things for you guys, so that you gain something from our experiences. That's pretty much that we want to come here for, and rest is destiny. So thanks once again, Vineet, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks a lot, Ramveer. Thanks.
I hope you all liked this conversation with Captain Koka Vineet, और बहुत जल्द हम ऐसे बहुत सारी conversation के साथ आपके बीच आएंगे. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to press that bell icon so that you don't miss anything. See you very soon.